Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time that I share our holiday homeschooling plans with you. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Abby and I am a homeschooling mom of 5. And every year at the beginning of the holiday season, I share the plans that I have for our homeschool. Now some years are full unit studies and that's the only thing we're doing for the whole month of December. Some years, like this year, I compile little bits and pieces, and I'm pretty good at holding off on some things and not trying to do everything at once, but I have things that catch my eye year to year, so if it's not a fit for that year, I keep it in mind for another year. And this is just a year where I have quite a few things that I've been excited about, so this is the year that I'd like to kind of pull those things in instead of doing one big month-long unit study. So this year has a little bit of a Christmassy morning basket that we're going to be doing, some Christmassy read alouds, and then I have some more individualized plans for my older kids and my younger kids. So if this is a video that you are interested in, then give this video a thumbs up and stay tuned. So like I said, this year is a year where we're pulling in little bits of this and little bits of that instead of doing a full unit study. So I have other years where we've done full month of December type of plans, and I will link in the description box down below all of the different videos I have of our holiday homeschooling plans. There have been some amazing and beautiful unit studies that we've done over the years, but this year I just felt like there was a book I wanted to read, and there was a little study I wanted to do, and there's a little craft I want to learn, and so this was a good year to say, okay, Mom's had a little list running for a couple years, let's do those things this year before we go back to doing, say, oh, what's the Slow and Sacred Advent? That was one of my favorites. We may do that one again another year. Things like that that take all of your days. So this year it's a little this and a little that. So I'm going to run through all of the things that I plan to do this month and kind of how I have it broken down by age. If you watched my homeschool scheduling video from the summer, then you'll recognize that this is the same format as our normal school days. It's just been made Christmas. So instead of this, we're doing that. And instead of this, we're doing that. So here we go. For our morning time in our homeschool, we normally do what I call soak time, which is scripture, observation, application, and kneeling in prayer. It's our Bible journaling method. I have a whole video on that. My kids do that every morning when we sit down to do morning basket. So instead of our soak time for the month of December, I gifted each of my kids a Christmas devotional. And so they'll be doing that instead of our 20-minute soak time in the mornings. And if you want to see the video about the devotionals that I got for each of them, I will link that up here in the corner as well as part of my Christmas pajama box videos. So they're going to be doing their Advent devotionals first thing. Then normally we have a nice full morning basket where we've got a little this and a little that, and I've tabled that morning basket for now, and we're doing like a Christmassy morning basket, and this is a time we sit down usually for about 2 hours, usually between like 8 and 10 or 8:30 and 10:30-ish. So during the month of December, my plans for that morning basket time is our annual family devotional, which is this. We have used Unwrapping the Greatest Gift for the majority of my kids' lives. It's a beautiful book and it's one that they really enjoy. Some years we've done it in the evenings with John, some years I just do it with them. So I'll be doing that with them during our morning time. We have our Jessie tree is what it's called. It's just a small Christmas tree that we have in our homeschool room. And a few years ago, John and I sat down and hand painted little ornaments that represent each day in the devotional. And so we'll hang this in there as well. And as we're reading through the book, the kids will pull one of these and place it on the tree each day. So that is the first part of our morning basket time. And then from there, I have it all written down because whenever we're doing a new format, I have to have it written down so that I can remember it until we get used to it. So from there, we have a family read aloud. So I have 4 read alouds for the 4 weeks. So the first one, we're starting the week following Thanksgiving. We're actually not doing school that week. We're starting our Christmas school on December 1st. Because I had my kids do their term exams during the week of Thanksgiving, I decided to give them the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the following week off so that I can prepare, decorate our house, get ready for our Christmas schooling. But that Monday we had co-op. So we'll be beginning on Friday. However, I am starting our read alouds at the beginning of that week. So we have 4 Christmas read alouds that we're doing this year. We have The Birds Christmas Carol. We have The Family Under the Bridge. We have The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, but I have misplaced that, so I'm sure it's probably in our Christmas bin. And then we have the Vanderbeekers of 141st Street, which was one of the read alouds I had in queue for us last year, but we kind of lost our steam by the end of December. So we'll be doing one per week up until the week before Christmas Day. So those are our read alouds, and that will be a part of our morning basket time. While I'm doing read alouds with the kids, they will either be working on our term 2 life skill, which is button sewing. If you remember, earlier this year, I broke down our family subjects by term. Term 1 was letter writing, term 2 is button sewing, and term 3 is first aid. So I decided to do the button sewing during our term 2 because term 2 goes across Christmas time. So while we'll continue this in January and February, we're starting it in December. And so I went on Pinterest and I found a couple of different little button sewing felt crafts that we can use, like ornament crafts and things like that. So it'll be a fun way to get started on this life skill. So they may be working on either that. I have a bunch of Christmas puzzles, things like that, just fun. You know, we have some fun Usborne sticker books and maze books and word search books and things that are Christmassy, magic painting books. So there will be a few options, but at least 2 days a week we'll be working on button sewing because that's an actual skill that is on plan for our term. So that's while I'm doing our weekly read aloud. We are also doing our composer this term. Last term was Scott Joplin. This term we are going to spend the month of December doing Delightfully Feasting's Nutcracker Ballet Study. So this can be a 12-week study if you're doing it, say, 1 day a week, but we're actually going to expedite it and we are going to do it for the whole month of December. I've been selective with what things we'll do and what things we'll leave out because we're a dance family. There were a couple of weeks that kind of just went over the basics of ballet that we don't need to do. And so we're turning this into our December composer study. And I have all the books to go along with it. There were some beautiful books that we'll actually be using in the future for other ballet studies. And then after the month of December, when we go back to our normal school time in January, we're gonna finish Scott Joplin. So this worked out really well. I wasn't quite sure what we would do since I wasn't planning to do this study for 12 weeks. But as it turns out, we could spend a couple more weeks on Joplin. The kids really enjoyed his music and I felt like we weren't completely finished listening to him. So we'll go back to finishing Joplin up after December. So this worked out really well. I will link this down below. It's very inexpensive, very simple. It's a nice way to introduce the idea of composer study or ballet study if you don't do it in your home already. And it's just a nice light touch. So Nutcracker Ballet Study in place of our composer study. And then I have our hymn. Now we won't be starting our folk song for this term until January. So as I mentioned in that family subjects video over the summer, I chose a shorter folk song since we'll be doing it for 8 weeks instead of 12. So we're just doing a hymn for the month of December and our hymn is "O Come All Ye Faithful." So we'll be working on that during our morning time. I also have Christmas Around the World. I got the Dover coloring books, which also have like a little story at the bottom of each one. So we'll be working on one of these each morning, coloring it, talking about that country, looking on YouTube about traditions in that country. And then I have a handful of Christmas Around the World books. This one is new this year, and then I have a couple of them in our big Christmas book bin that John still has to get down for me. So if a country matches up with the country that we're at in the coloring book, then we will read about that as well. I will link these coloring books down below. I really love the Dover coloring books. We're actually using them for our bird study that we're doing normally throughout our morning basket time during the year. They're very intricate and they're great for older kids, so they're not just like little kid coloring books. And so we'll be doing those. I have one of those for each of my kids, so that's going to be in place of our geography for December. I know well enough to not try to plan all of our normal subjects throughout the month because it will just end in frustration. It's a busy time of year without school, and so if I'm trying to do a little Christmas on top of, say, our Australia study that we're doing right now, it's just going to be too much. So I much prefer to pause for 4 weeks and go back to our normal studies in January. So that's what we're doing this year because we got kind of a late start in our school year this year anyway. So we have that for Christmas Around the World. I mentioned our hymn. I mentioned the Nutcracker study. So that's the, and then we also, one day a week, instead of doing morning basket as we've done throughout this whole year, we will work on our handcraft, which is watercolor. We've been doing it on Wednesdays, so we'll go ahead and continue that. Our Bible study is paused for the month of December, so we normally go to Bible study and come home and do watercolor, but instead of that, we'll just enjoy watercolor instead of morning basket time. And we have been following along with the free YouTube tutorials of Let's Make Art online, and so I'll just choose 3 or 4 of the Christmas projects, and we will go ahead and do some of those instead of morning basket one day a week. So far we've covered our Bible journaling time in the morning, and then our morning basket time, which is family devotional, a read aloud, a little bit of life skills, hymns, Nutcracker study, and a little geography with Christmas Around the World. From there, normally we stop morning basket time and our kids split up. My younger kids stay with me and do some work with me, and my older kids go off and do their independent work. My older kids have asked to continue their independent work during the month of December. I gave them a choice of either doing their independent work or having a 5th day of work in January and February to make up for it. They would much prefer to just stay on track with their math and their science. So they will continue to split off after morning basket time and do their math and science. They also will have a little bit of fun though, because Redefining School's December middle school literature survey, that was a tongue twister, which is for 5th through 9th grade. The month of December's unit study just came out, and it is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So they will have some fun Christmas literature to study during the month of December as well. And it's just one Zoom meeting in the month of December. So they'll have their independent work, but it will have a little Christmas touch with the Charles Dickens study. So I'm super thankful for Redefining School to add that little festive flair to their work. And then my younger kids and I will sit down, and for our, really since December 1st is on a Friday, it's really 3 full weeks of Christmas school. So for our Christmas 5 in a row, for those 3 weeks, I only chose 2 books instead of 3, just because we need some wiggle room in our schedule. Lots of things come up in the month of December. So the 2 unit studies we're gonna do this year are The Great Spruce, because we haven't done this one yet, and Bird Count. Both of these, I believe, are mini units, so they're available on the 5 in a row website instead of being part of the manuals. So I will link these below if I can find them. I chose Bird Count again, even though we did some of the projects last year, because we're doing the Burgess Bird Book this year for science for my younger kids. So since we're pausing that for the month of December, I thought it'd be fun to do Bird Count again with a new perspective on birds. So those are the 2. We'll start with Bird Count, do 5 or 6 school days of this, and then we'll go to The Great Spruce. So that's what my younger kids will be doing with me. Then it's lunchtime, and typically after lunchtime is when we sit down and do our family read aloud, and that is when I am doing the thing that has stressed me out for years that I've never had the time for, but I actually made the time for this year, and we are doing that 25 wrapped picture books thing, and I'm so excited about it. It's so funny how one thing can add stress one year and it can bring joy another year, and I'm so excited about it. I've always wanted to do this, but I just hadn't made the time to wrap the books. So that's why the 3 days that we're taking off between Thanksgiving before we start our Christmas schooling will be helpful, because I'm gonna wrap 25 picture books. So I'm excited about this because I have a lot of Christmas books. Some are just fun and festive and not very important to me. They're just like fun, silly books. And then I have some that are just beautiful and intentional and books that I love reading with my kids. And yet rarely make the time to sit down and read with them. And so this idea of having the 25 wrapped picture books, I'm so excited. So this will be in place of our normal chapter book read aloud time that happens shortly after lunch. So I have a few of them here to show you. The rest of them, as I mentioned, are books that are in our Christmas bin. I keep pointing that way because that's where our garage is, which is how you get into our attic. But I had a few on hand that I could show you. So one of them is Tommy DePola's Christmas tree book, The Night of Las Posadas, which we studied Mexican Christmas traditions a couple of years ago, and so I'm excited to read that story. We have An Orange for Frankie by Patricia Polacco. We have You Choose Christmas. This is just a fun one, but because it's a new one to us this year, I thought it'd be fun to unveil by unwrapping it. And then things like The Crippled Lamb and Christmas Day in the Morning, just beautiful books. And so I'm excited about that. I know it's a lot and it's never worked out for us before, but I'm excited to add that in this year. And then in the afternoons, you know, that's where we have time for baking and errands and commitments and rehearsals and all sorts of things that I don't want to be fighting with to do school. Normally after lunchtime is when I sit down and do one-on-one work with my older kids, but that will be paused for the month of December, and we'll pick that up in January, just so we have some time in the afternoons to either enjoy the season together or run errands. So that is what homeschool will look like for us in the month of December. And I know that sounded like a lot. I was actually hesitant to make this video this year because I don't want anyone to feel like this is what homeschooling is supposed to look like in the month of December. It certainly hasn't always looked this way for us in past years. It just worked out that I had some time to plan these things this year. And like I said, it's different for us every year anyway, but I know that there's little bits and pieces in here that you guys may enjoy in your own homeschool, so I wanted to share everything that we're doing. Let me know what some of your December plans are in the comments down below, and I hope you guys have a very merry start to your holiday homeschooling plans. Bye guys.